So why is barefoot running better for you than running in shoes?
You know, the funny thing is, why are shoes better than bare feet?
This is a technique that really anyone can use to subdue an opponent much bigger than them.
You're going to feel the tension right around the sides of your neck.
I coach people online. They're going to get results in their own homes, but the coaching and the training part is done via phone and email.
Today, barefoot runner Chris McDougall is here. He's author of the bestseller Born to Run. Is barefoot running right for you? And then Greg O'Gallagher tells you how to train your central nervous system to get the most out of your workouts and how he incorporates mixed martial arts into his fitness regimen. Plus, personal trainer and entrepreneur Neil Kaler gives you the lowdown on online training. Is it a cheaper, more convenient way to get in shape? First up, Chris McDougall. Great to meet you, Chris.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Well, I'm hearing so much more about barefoot running these days, but I guess you kind of have been the one responsible for bringing so much attention to it with your bestseller, Born to Run.
It's really taken off over the past year. It's been kind of amazing.
And in fact, you're here in California and kind of on the whole books tour thing.
Exactly, yeah. The book's actually been out for a year, but it's just that the interest and the reaction has been, swelling day by day. So I'm doing a lot of different barefoot running clinics and talks throughout California and Midwest.
So why is barefoot running better for you than running in shoes?
You know, the funny thing is, why are shoes better than bare feet? That's the question which people should be asking. When did we suddenly develop this need for these cushion-structured devices? You know, humans have been doing very well without running shoes for 2 million years, and then suddenly we're told, oh no, you can't run unless you had these things, although there is no scientific evidence that they provide any benefit whatsoever.
And really what I guess the modern running shoe has just come about in the past, is it like 25 years or something that people have been?
Exactly, yeah. Up until the mid-1970s, humans ran either in nothing or a thin bit of protection under their soles. Running shoes back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s were these thin little, almost like slippers. Then in the 70s, we started to create this product that became over-engineered, over-cushioned, and it actually creates the problems it says it's going to cure.
Well, I know one of the main things or differences about barefoot running is the way it changes your stride, that you land differently instead of heel to toe to. Well, you want to tell us what happens with your stride and why that's good?
Yeah, I mean, it's a simple experiment you can perform for yourself. If you stood up on this chair and you jumped off, you would automatically land on your forefoot and you would bend your knees. But if you had a cushioned shoe, you could kind of land anywhere because you are muffling the initial impact shock. You won't feel the impact. Those vibrations are still traveling up your legs, so you're still suffering the damage. You're just not feeling it upon impact. Same way if I give you a shot of Novocaine and I start to do some work on your teeth, you won't feel it, but you're still doing damage up there. That's what happens with running shoes. So you remove the running shoe and you will instinctively land on your forefoot and bend your joints to absorb the impact instead of slamming down on your heel.
Now, one podiatrist I spoke to said that that they actually did studies, and it is true that you land lighter on your feet or with less force when you're running barefoot than with shoes. But his argument, he's not a big fan of it for the average person, at least. For athletes, he thinks it may be okay, but for the average person, because he's afraid, though, that the average person, that you're stressing the muscles more and tendons and ligaments in the process of doing that. So you land lighter, but yet you're exerting those muscles more,
So it's a bad thing to use your muscles more? He's arguing against getting your muscles in better shape?
Well, and you probably are aware that not all podiatrists are crazy about barefoot running, and when we spoke in advance. And, again, the argument being that, well, I guess it comes down to whether this prevents injuries or causes injuries, and I'm assuming you don't assume it causes injuries.
You know, it's funny that the people who should be most responsible for embracing what could be an end to running injuries have provided the most amount of obstruction and resistance. It's podiatrists, and podiatrists are in the business of giving out corrective devices. They give out orthotics, they prescribe shoes. Unfortunately, in this case, the medical profession is lagging way behind where everybody else is going. And this idea that, well, it could be this or it could be that, and we don't know, and we need more studies. Well, where was the alarm back when running injuries started to explode in frequency? The fact of the matter is up to 50 to 80% of all runners are injured every single year with running shoes. And there is zero evidence that running shoes do anything to lessen the risk of injury. So I don't see the podiatrist saying, oh, we can't have running shoes until we have more studies to prove that they won't hurt. The fact of the matter is humans have done extraordinarily well on their own 2 feet for 2 million years. Running shoes are a brand new innovation. We've tried them. They're a failed experiment. It's time to go back to basics.
Now, you started doing this, running barefoot, because you had injuries yourself, right?
Yeah, and I think the reason why so many people have responded to the book is because I was literally in their shoes. I was the runner that was constantly getting injured. Not by running very much, just a couple of miles, sort of burn off some pizza from the night before. I get injured, and I would go to see different doctors, podiatrists and sports medicine physicians, and they would tell me, like, what do you expect? Running's bad for the body, it's bad for the knees, it's bad for the hips. All that impact is bad. You should give it up. Well, then I discovered this tribe in Mexico, the Tarahumara, and they're running 100, 150 miles at a time, 70 and 80 years old, and they're not getting injured. And they're wearing the thinnest of homemade sandals. So I thought, no, how come these guys can do it and we can't? And what I discovered was the simplest thing of all. They're just doing it differently.
Now, how often do you run barefoot? Because that's another thing. Some people have told me, even runners, that you should start gradually or kind of intermittently. Is it all or nothing? I mean, should you only run barefoot every day, or mix it up with shoes, or what's your thought on that? How often do you?
Shoes are irrelevant. This is all about technique, and this is where the conversation has really gone off the rails. Even now, people keep saying, well, should you have a minimal shoe, and how often should you?
Right.
It's not about footwear, it's about form. To learn proper form, you can run as much or as little as you want. However, learning proper running form, it's easy for kids. There's no 5-year-old on planet Earth that needs to be taught how to run. Unfortunately, because we get accustomed to shoes, we stray from that natural running style. So from the get-go, yes, absolutely. Take your time, transition gradually, listen to your body, don't try and force it. But over time now, I mean, I've been running barefoot now for about 1.5 years, and I don't even think about shoes anymore. I don't think about distance anymore. I run any distance I feel like, barefoot or not, and it makes no difference to me at all.
Are there any particular surfaces you like to run on? Because I've interviewed Ken Bob Saxton, who told me, well, he took us out to the gravel. He likes to run in gravel.
Yeah. Well, Ken Bob is the
right?
master. He's the Yoda. It's very few people have achieved his level of perfection. But you asked about surfaces. Again, this is some of the very bad advice that is bandied about by people who don't know what they're talking about. Once again, the podiatrists that keep saying, well, if you want to try this, you should go on a soft surface like grass or a beach. Well, those are the last two places you should go, because beaches are made up of sand, which is a corrosive, abrasive element, and it's a shifting, unsettled surface. You can run fine on beaches if you know what you're doing. If you're a novice, that's kind of master class stuff. If you run on soft grass, that can still make up for a lot of the sins. There's no impetus to improve your form because the soft grass will cover up for your sins. This surface you have right here, this like smooth cement, perfect. You can go out to any kind of a sidewalk, driveway, asphalt, anything that's hard and flat.
We'll start doing barefoot running seminars here.
We just did about 5 minutes ago. Greg and I were playing out here. It's a very simple thing to learn.
Well, in our final minute, anything you would tell people who might be interested and want to know how to get started? I guess, is it easy? You just take off your shoes? Is that one of the easier ways to get started with this, huh?
Exactly. Take off your shoes, and rather than your brain telling your feet what to do, let your feet tell your body what to do. The only lessons you need to learn are take off your shoes, have fun with it, don't try and force anything, and listen to your body. What your body tells you, it's telling you for a reason. Pay attention and react accordingly.
I will say, when I did try this myself a couple of times, kind of in the process of researching this, I really liked the way that the ground feels on your feet.
Your feet are packed with nerves, and they're not there by accident. They're there to absorb information. And by you covering them up and isolating your feet, you're basically blinding yourself to all the information, which can be very valuable.
Thank you very much, Chris McDougall.
Yeah.
The book is Born to Run. We'll be right back. And we are back. Joining me now is Greg O'Gallagher from Toronto, Canada. Great to meet you, Greg.
How's it going?
So you watched the show on YouTube and wanted to come down and do a fitness show.
Yeah.
Here you are today.
Yeah, it's actually really funny because I sent you that email and literally 5 minutes later I heard back from you. I was pumped, yeah.
I think it was one of the days I was sitting in front of the computer editing, and I'm like all over it when I get a Facebook then. Yeah. But in fact, you've got you're a YouTube star. You've got your own YouTube channel.
I am GOG9 on YouTube. Right now I got 2,500 subscribers that will be watching this show right now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you want to tell YouTube today? You have training the central nervous system, you said, as one way to get the most of it.
That's right, yes. Most people out there, they train their muscle. They do drop sets, supersets, just to get the blood to the muscle and to get the pump. And what that does is it increases the fluid-like substance in your muscle, aka sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. Now that makes your muscles bigger, but not necessarily stronger. So it's great if you want to have big, puffy beach muscles, but if you want to be hard, lean, compact, you got to train for a different type of strength, and that is training your central nervous system. And the way you do that is with, you use high tension exercises. So forget about getting the pump, forget about just feeling the muscle, the blood in the muscle. Think about movement, think about explosion. So you don't want to be doing 8, 12 reps. You want to be doing 3 to 5 reps with a heavy weight that you can explode on every rep. If you're grinding the reps out, your central nervous system isn't maximized.
Just every once in a while, the Canadian accent sneaks in there.
That's right. It has to. I gotta show the viewers that it's all from Canada.
But you said it's a little bit different though than most people think, because they think maybe you do what high sets, high reps, low weight for building mass.
For building mass, because that's how you get the sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. If you want to build muscle quickly, do high reps, high volume. You'll look bigger instantly. If you go in the mirror, get that pump, and you'll get some temporary size. But if you want to build hard, compact muscles, like I said earlier, you want to go for a different type of strength, which is training your central nervous system, and that's shooting for myofibrillar hypertrophy.
Okay.
And what that does is increases the size and strength of your muscle fibers. So you might not get bigger as fast, but you'll get stronger.
And you were giving us an example of how you do that, or what are some of the exercises that you...
Well, the best method I do that with is you got to choose certain exercises, because you can't go high tension on every exercise. Like lateral raises and stuff, it's just way too much stress on the joints. So you got to stick with the core lifts, bench press, pull-ups, rows. You can do curls work. And the method I found the best is to do 6 sets of 3 reps. And each set, you add weight. So you might start with bench press with 95 pounds and only 3 reps, and you explode, and it just excites your central nervous system, and you'll actually feel like you punch through a brick. You'll feel extremely strong, and you're not going to leave the gym fatigued. You're going to leave the gym energized.
I was going to ask you how much you bench, but actually I know, because you set your own record, right?
I beat my own record with this. So I'm 180 pounds at 5'10", and the other 2 weeks ago I actually benched 315. Wow. Which is pretty, and I didn't even have a spotter. It was 1 rep. It was a close call, but I made it. You can check that out online. But 315 for someone my size is good, and that's what enabled me to do that, by training my central nervous system and not just training my muscles.
Now, I know you also use mixed martial arts.
That's right.
In your fitness routine, how does that work?
I love the mixed martial arts. It's such a dynamic kind of workout. You're working your body through so many different ways. It's amazing. And the best thing I find about mixed martial arts, and do the viewers, would they know what mixed martial arts is? It's basically, originally,
it's like punching people in the head or kicking them in the head or something?
Originally, that's kind of it. I guess from your point of view, that's what it is. Well, originally it started out, they have different martial artists fight against each other to kind of see which martial art was the best, but eventually they realized that one martial art wasn't the best. You got to take different aspects from everything, put it together, and come up with a complete system. So so when you train, you're training your stand-up, your punches, kicks, knees, your takedowns, your wrestling, your throws, your submissions, your ground and pound. You're working your body in just ways that you can't in any other form of exercise. And so that's awesome, because what it does for me, like for people that work at the gym, lift weights, is it functionalizes your strength. And the term functional is like, people are going to throw up red flags everywhere, because a lot of trainers out there are trying to exploit that and have people balance on balance beams and different kind of gimmicks that's not functional. Because I mean, when are you balancing on a balance beam? Unless you're like a clown, then it's functional. But I mean, for people,
or in the Olympics, or the gymnast, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I guess there. Well, but so in order to functionalize your muscle, you gotta train in like different sports. Like mixed martial arts is one. Like snowboarding and wakeboarding and swimming. I mean, you're not gonna have a 250-pound bodybuilder that's gonna be proficient in those type of activities. Unless, because once they start swimming and wakeboarding and snowboarding, they realize that all the muscle they have isn't helping them. It's good for one thing, for lifting weight, but it's not going to help them in other facets of life.
So how did you get involved in mixed martial arts, and at what age? Because you're only...
I'm turning 19 in a couple weeks. That's right. So
an old timer already.
That's right. So I got involved in mixed martial arts when I was really young. Yeah, my mom signed me up for jiu-jitsu lessons. But then I stopped doing those, and eventually I always wanted to get back into martial arts. And it took me, by the time I was 13, I stopped doing hockey and I started training boxing, and then it started with boxing, then I started training in mixed martial arts, Vale Tudo, Jeet Kune Do concepts, and then just dipping my feet in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I love it because it's challenging, it's fun, and it kind of puts you, like, I mean, it's like, I can bench press 315 pounds, but it doesn't mean I'm the best fighter in the gym. Because there's so many other variables.
Is it closer to street fighting in the sense that since you're taking from so many different styles?
It's different than street fighting.
It's more brutal, though, I guess.
I mean, when it started out, it was pretty much street fighting without your ambience, without your beer bottles and and chairs. But now they've instigated so many rules to kind of keep so it can be a sport and it can be legal. That it's not street fighting. You can't headbutt. You can't do all these brutal tactics.
Taking away
jab
all
your
the fun
eyes.
stuff.
Yeah, it's the fun stuff. The equalizers, yeah.
Do people get seriously hurt doing that, though? Or,
surprisingly, no, actually, because it's actually less dangerous than boxing, because refs in boxing will actually, they'll let people, like if someone's getting destroyed and they're about to get knocked out, or let's say they're on the ground, they'll count to 10. If in mixed martial arts, if you're knocked out, you're on the ground, the ref jumps in there and stops it. So there's actually less damage to your brain.
Yeah, because they've done some studies, I think even just for the NFL, there was one in the news that some of those players are getting brain damage just from,
right. I mean,
without even...
Yeah, I mean, there's so many sports out there that are way more dangerous than mixed martial arts if you look at it at a per capita. Yeah, so
you're going to...
I'll demonstrate a little
demonstrate
technique for you guys. That's right.
Well, after we're talking about brain damage, I'm a little bit concerned.
Yeah, I'll give you a little brain damage. So I'm going to demonstrate the rear. It's called the rear naked choke.
Okay.
This is a technique that really anyone can use to subdue an opponent much bigger than them. And so let me demonstrate. So what you want to do is...
I've got my weapon.
Yeah, you want to get your arm around their neck. Not here. This is what you call an air choke. It cuts the air supply to your brain, which is actually very dangerous. You want to get your whole arm around here, so the pressure is on the sides of the neck, and that cuts the blood supply to your brain.
And so, but it's like a chokehold then.
And it's like a chokehold. So you have your arm around here. You're gonna grab. I'm gonna grab my bicep. And right here. And so you're gonna feel the tension right around the sides of your neck, and tap once you can't take it anymore. So just. That's good. That's good. Okay.
Now, what is my defensive move?
Your defensive move? Well, in the UFC, once you get that position, no one really gets out of it.
I was being nice. I'm gonna kick your butt.
You want to try it on me?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we are back. Joining me now is Neil Kaler from Minnesota. Great to meet you, Neil. And I should say, you just moved here to Huntington Beach from Minnesota.
Yes, 2 months ago.
A little bit different change in weather there, huh?
Definitely. It's good, though. It's a good change.
Well, you should be the diehard, stay with the snow.
Yeah, I know.
But you are doing online training, and I thought that would be an interesting topic for the show because we haven't really talked about that, but I hear about it more, or you see, you guys will say that they're doing training online. So how does that work? How if I want to train with you online, how does this work?
Basically, I coach people online with email and phone, and depending on the program that they use, they're going to get results in their own homes. But the coaching and the training part is done via phone and email. So it's a little bit different than training in person.
Okay, so all phone and email, because I wondered like if there were webcams or Skype or something, but it's all pretty much phone and email.
Yep.
Okay. Now, I guess so my question would be though, how, since you're not really there, I mean, does this work? I mean, does it work?
Oh, absolutely. And it's worked so well for me, actually, that I've built up a much larger clientele than I've been able to reach in person, because I can now train people all over the country rather than just in my local area.
So you do have clients all over the country?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. So can you tell me like any of the places, or what's the furthest person away from you?
Sure. I have some clients in Hawaii.
Wow.
I have clients in New York, Florida, Alaska. So.
And now, how did you reach out to get these clients without, I mean, you don't necessarily, I mean, was it just they knew of you, word of mouth, or did you do advertising?
Yeah, a lot of it was through referrals.
Okay.
Websites, different things, my blog, different areas people have been able to contact me through. And so that's the great part about it, is I can reach out to them regardless of where they are.
And how does it work I realize it's probably different for each client, but can you take me through at least like maybe one regimen or how it works in general? How often do you talk to the people by phone or email and
Sure.
that sort of thing?
For the most part, it's 2 to 3 times a week we'll touch base, depending on their goals and how quickly they want to achieve their results. And it also includes nutrition in addition to the fitness program, so it's comprehensive.
And now, do you have them send you pictures or something so you can see if they're...
I do, if they're comfortable with that. I think that's a great way to keep them accountable. You know, every 30 days or so, they'll update their progress, and so we'll see how they're doing.
And what's the longest running client you've had so far?
I've had people training with me for a couple of years, actually.
Couple years, okay.
So.
And can you give us an example of maybe some of the results they've had, or how it's...
Yeah, sure. I have one client, she's lost over 50 pounds, you know, she's feeling great.
Wow.
And so it's just a matter of what you get into it is what you're going to get out of it.
Sure. Well, I sometimes think, you know, like when I'm going to pick up food or something, I think, you know, I should just call somebody or text them and say, have them tell me don't do it.
Right, absolutely.
Do you ever do that kind of thing, like
I do.
Intervention with drop it, put it down?
Yeah, sometimes, you know, I'll send a little reminder, like, you know, I'll even have them call me, like, if they're about to eat something that's on the do not eat list, you know, let me know, you know, and I'll be like, no, you know, there's another choice. So
I was honestly thinking about doing that the other day, and I thought, you know, we interview all these fitness people. I thought, what if I just call somebody and say, hey, you know, tell me not to eat that donut?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
Why are you calling me?
It makes a big difference, though. Yep.
Yeah, there is something just about the psychology of...
Absolutely.
Now, I mean, without getting too much into specifics if you don't want to, but can you give some sense of how much this costs, or, you know, is it cheaper than doing it in person? Or?
It is cheaper. You know, some of the programs might run, you know, $120, but that's going to last you 3 months. So,
wow.
you know, it's kind of more of a upfront investment, but it's over time. And, you know, I cater the training to how quickly they want to get those results. So it definitely is cheaper than actually seeing a trainer in the gym.
And when you're talking to people by phone or by email, how long is each session, or how does that?
Oh, it could be as short as, you know, 10 minutes, just touching base at the beginning of the day, or it could be half an hour, you know. The main thing I do is ask a lot of questions, because the more I can find out what's going on in the person's life, what's holding them back, the quicker they're going to get those results.
A lot of times it comes down to that, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
That's funny. That's really kind of the key, probably, overall.
Yes.
And I guess that's one reason, too, it can be cost effective, because even though you're not really standing there the whole time, but then it doesn't take all that amount of time from you as a trainer, so you can kind of deal with people.
You can have many more clients at the same time than if you were training each person individually for an hour.
Sure.
So.
And I guess this is kind of catching on, though. I mean, I hear about it more these days. I mean, is it kind of, are more fitness or personal trainer people doing it?
It really is catching on a lot. You know, a lot of people don't like to make the commute to go to a gym, and then when they get there, maybe they either can't afford a trainer or they just aren't sure of what to do. So this is an alternative that they can do in their own homes.
Do you also train people local, or are they all across the country?
I'm looking to do some more of that, just to like get even a bigger base of people going. But right now, it's all online.
Because I was thinking, I mean, even like online with somebody in town who like didn't want to drive to the gym or something.
Oh, sure.
Like that,
Yeah, that'd be a great option. Absolutely.
And but so you moved here to LA to get into modeling and that whole industry. Now, fitness modeling or fashion modeling? Or?
I want to do fitness and fashion, actually.
But I guess you have to kind of watch, right? Because you can't get. Well, I mean, because I've learned over the years from doing is there are like 3 levels. There's fashion, which is the smallest, and then fitness, which is kind of medium, and then the bodybuilders at the far end. And you definitely got to stay away from the bodybuilder end if you're going to go into fashion or even fitness, really.
Exactly. So right now, you know, I'm just doing a lot of test shoots for my portfolio, just getting my look stronger, and then going to open calls just to get my name out there.
And so how tall are you and how much do you weigh?
I'm 6 feet tall and 170 pounds.
Okay, okay. And and what's your own workout routine like?
My own workout, you know, it really depends on the day. I really believe in mixing it up. A lot of muscle confusion, you know, changing the routines day to day is going to get you a lot quicker results. So depending on the day, it varies, but it's usually between half an hour to an hour, some sort of lifting weights, cardio, really mixing it up. And that's about 5 to 6 days a week.
You could get an online trainer and
Exactly.
Be your own online trainer.
Yeah.
Now, I know you're also the entrepreneur with your online training and other things, but you belong to some of the entrepreneur clubs. And so where are you going with this? Are you, do you have a master plan here for, you going to start a gym or something, or what are you going to do?
Well, right now I'm in an entrepreneur society in Orange County, so we meet about once a month. It's like a mastermind group, and that's really key just to get like-minded people in the same room to share ideas and kind of feed off of each other.
Sure.
So I really want to continue with that, and I really like owning my own business. You know, so my goal.
Be your own boss. That's
Yeah.
the best way, right?
Yeah, exactly. My goal right now is just to really grow my business to the point where, you know, I can do what I want and control, you know, where I want to go and when. So
That's the way to do it.
Exactly.
Well, thank you very much, Neil Kaler.
Thank you.
I'd also like to thank Chris McDougall and Greg O'Gallagher. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you next time.